The full NFL schedule was released, so how will the Eagles fare and what are odds makers saying about their chances? And we heard from defensive coordinator Sean Desai for the first time since coming to Philly. Hear why he says the defense will resemble the legendary ones of old. I'm here for it, but first, let's run it. Hey guys, happy Friday. If you're new to the channel, I'm Josh and I cover the Birds, so hit that like button, like Sean Desai's defense, and let's get started. The NFL officially released the schedule for all 32 teams, and I know, we had so many leaks that we could have put it together ourselves, or maybe you did before the official announcement, but now we know the exact game times and what everything will look like. As you see, the Eagles will open up on the road versus the New England Patriots, who, by the way, we haven't played since that insanely awesome experience, but the Patriots will be making it Tom Brady Day as the GOAT returns to some sort of celebration for an unbelievable career. Do I think this will matter much? No, not really, but it does make an easier game a little bit more difficult because it's a later start and you'll have a hyped up crowd for the opener and celebrating Brady, but even so, we shouldn't have too much trouble starting out 1-0. Next on the schedule is Eagles' home opener in the Minnesota Vikings, which is, for being honest, is a little disheartening because didn't we just open up with them last season? Yeah, we did, and don't get me wrong, it was a phenomenal game for Jalen Hurts and the offense as well as Darius Slay in the D, but a Thursday night home opener? It feels like the NFL could have done a little bit better here, but if you want the silver lining, at least it should be 2-0 since Kirk Cousins will have to play after dark. Alright, that wouldn't have mattered anyway, but I had to get a little bit of a jab in.
You like that?
We follow up the Vikings with a Week 3 trip to good old Tampa Bay, taking on Tom Brady and we already talked about him since he's retired. I'm not too concerned with the Bucs either, and Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask doesn't scare me, so give me the dub and let's move on to 3-0 before a divisional opponent. Next up is the Washington Commanders and Sam Howell, assuming he's still the starting QB by this point. And I know we did lose to the Commanders last season, but a home game versus the Commies screams 4-0. After that, the Birds travel across the country to play the LA Rams and pick up another win. Are we 5-0? Yes, we are. Here's where things start to get a little tougher. Week 6 is a road game versus the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers, so we get to figure out if defensive coordinator Sean Desai's defense can limit opposing quarterbacks better than Jonathan Gannon's system did. I expect this one to be a battle, but Philly to move to 6-0. Staying in the AFC East, the following week the Birds will play host on Sunday Night Football to Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins, where we get a matchup of two former Alabama quarterbacks vying for supremacy. Both sides should be ready with tons of weapons all over the field, but Philadelphia can't lose a home game on Sunday Night Football, right? 7-0. Week 8 takes us back to a divisional opponent in Washington, but they could very well be in an unofficial tankathon for DC native Caleb Williams at this point. Chalk it up as a win. All right, undefeated 8-0 at this point, taking on the Dallas Cowboys at the Link on a late afternoon start and a chance to give Dallas a harsh dose of reality that the Eagles will be the first team in the division to win back-to-back since 2005. Birds run away late, 9-0 heading into the bye, but it doesn't get any easier coming off the bye as Philly heads to Arrowhead to take on Big Red and the Chiefs, hopefully to exact some revenge after the Super Bowl loss. But remember, the Birds haven't beaten the Chiefs since Andy Reid became the head coach, losing 4 straight. Yet, even after so many years, Reid has had trouble remembering which team to cheer for.
I probably shouldn't even say it, but I'm going to say it because it's you two, and nobody else is going to hear it. So there was one point where I was back talking with Pat. My back was to the field, and I heard the cheer, and I turn around, and your tight end caught the ball.
Yeah.
And for a minute, I went, hey, nice. Hey. He can get this. It was weird.
Haason, Goddard.
But yeah, it was just the one time.
We don't need any sympathy, though, because despite Kansas City's petty Eagles tears jokes after they won the Super Bowl, we won't be the ones crying. And in case you're not sure what I'm talking about, Eagles Tears was the special milk created by a Kansas City milk company to celebrate or mock the Birds after losing Super Bowl 57. Philly probably didn't need it, but just more bulletin board material, and I say the Eagles finally deal Andy M. Mahomes an L. The following week is a home game versus Buffalo, but no letdown there as we improve to 11-0. Speaking speaking of tiers, the 49ers will come into town on week 13, hoping to play the spoiler after head coach Kyle Shanahan lost his starting QB early in the NFC Championship game, which apparently Brock Purdy is the entire team after he said, "I'm glad we're not playing Philly week 1. I want to play them at a better time. I want to make sure our whole team is right there. We feel like we didn't get to do it last time, and I'm ready to go back again." Well, here you go. Have a tissue and stop your crying. All I can say is this guy will still be here with an even more loaded defensive front, so good luck 49ers. Not really. But if we're being honest, how many quarterbacks will Shanahan have lost by week 13?
Not 5, not 6, not 7.
In that case, Philly rolls and improves to 12-0. The next matchup in the gauntlet is the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry World, but fortunately, I'll be in attendance, and I don't know if you believe in this sort of thing, but the Birds have never lost a game that I've attended. Hey, it's only crazy if it doesn't work or something like that. Sounds like a lot to me. Let's call it 13-0, which, by the way, we've already gotten reports of a playoff schedule leak.
Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me?
I know it's really early, but the Dallas Cowboys will not be playing in the NFC Championship game for the 28th straight year. And my sincerest condolences to a franchise that continues to overpromise and underdeliver. Moving on, week 15 is the Seattle Seahawks on the road in what could be a surprisingly tough game, but I don't see Geno Smith being able to keep up the stellar level of play, so the National Bird wins, making us 14-0. Which sets up a Christmas Day afternoon game versus the New York Football Giants, and while Christmas is such an amazing day of anticipation and celebration, the Giants will be waking up to a stocking full of Boston Scott. We know how this story ends, with the Giant Killer picking up a couple touchdowns, and try as they might, New York goes home with nothing to show for it. Also, an interesting point that Eagles Nation brought up, the last time the Eagles had a Christmas game, the season ended pretty well thanks to good old jolly St. Nick's magic and hoisting the Lombardi Trophy when all was said and done. I'm just saying, all things come full circle. 15-0 by this point, as Jonathan Gannon has almost assuredly made a mess of his first head coaching gig. My only regret is that it's so late in the season. Who's to say he's even still the head coach by this point? Plus, after the Cardinals' troll job on Twitter, I can't see this being a fun game for them in late December. So, either way, this should be an easy dub at home, moving us to 16-0. One more game on the schedule versus the New York Giants on a flex schedule and probably playing our backups by this point. But you didn't really think I'd pick us to lose, did you? 17-0, and then we start the march to the Super Bowl. What do you guys think? Where did I go wrong? Okay, realistically, I think we win 11 or 12 games, so sprinkle a little action on the over 10.5 win total if that's your kind of thing, but reminder to gamble responsibly, because the NFL schedule isn't a cakewalk, and as we all know, it's tough to win in this league. Plus, there's always a chance of injuries, which makes it even that much harder. But let's get serious. Speaking of tough, Sean Desai spoke to the media today about what they can expect to see from his newly tailored defensive unit, and let's just say it will be special.
There's a certain mentality that we want to reflect, and I really believe in the city's teams got to reflect the city. And we've got some grit, we've got some toughness. We want to be able to impose our will. We're not going to take really anything from anybody. And we want to make sure that people feel us. We want to be able to run, we want to be able to hit, and we want to play smart. And I think that's a reflection of who we are. Obviously, as a Philadelphia Eagles defense, a reflection of really the history of the Philadelphia Eagles defense, and a reflection of the city. And that's what we want to be. We want to be an encompassing part of that. And you know, one thing I told the team, was it maybe last week at the end of meetings on Thursday, was I asked them if they knew what the word palpable meant. You guys know? Yeah, right? I mean, it's feeling you. And that's what we want. We want to be able to be felt, whether you're watching us on TV, whether you're in the stadium, and obviously on the field. We want to make sure people feel this Philadelphia Eagles defense.
This dude is for real.
Looks like he means business.
Yeah, he definitely means business, and he went on to say that Philly's defense will be one that affects quarterbacks both physically and mentally, which, if we're being honest, and like Desai said, really embodies Philly, the tough, physical, not afraid to deliver punishment in a massive way team that will make you think twice before coming back for more. Now, obviously, today's NFL is different, so it can't come close to the physicality of defenses of old, but I do think they can still leave a mark, and Desai believes that as well, and said it starts with the game plan, where he also attributed Vic Fangio for teaching him how to prepare in this league and call a game. And he also credits Jim Johnson for having an aggressive defense, saying, Hopefully we can honor Jim Johnson. If I can be a fraction of him as a defensive coordinator, that would be great. I'm telling you, I'm so excited at this point to see the potential of what this defense is and what it can be. As I've been saying since the Desai hire, I think he and the defense as a whole are very underrated, but they're about to shock a lot of teams with how disruptive they can be. Another player that I think we're all excited about is Jalen Carter. And although there was recent news about Carter being listed in a lawsuit, Philly, the podcast Joe Castro, had a good reminder that the lawsuit seeks $30 million from the defendants in compensatory damages and an additional $10 million in punitive damages from Carter. Jalen Carter was already tried and sentenced. This is not a criminal trial, despite seeing some trying to push that narrative. I agree and don't really think this will be an issue that causes him to miss play time, and although Desai didn't comment around the legal matters, he wasn't shy about sharing his excitement to coach Jalen Carter.
I was really excited. Anytime to be honest with you, for me, anytime we get defensive players through the draft, wherever level they are, I get really excited, right? Because you're just adding more talent to the room, to your group, and then you're being able to be creative on how you can utilize that talent and creating more competition, right? And so in particular with those two guys, I mean, obviously they've had championship careers where they've been, so they come from a good pedigree, and they're really athletic and unique at the things that they can do in their own right. Jalen's dynamic and fast and big and strong, and Nolan is those same things, but he's a little bit, his leverages go a little bit different with his athleticism and his ability to move in space and rush the passer and do things in a different form. So really excited for both those guys.
Another thing I just love is that Desai started out his coaching career in Temple. He knows how special of a place it is, really, and so does offensive coordinator Brian Johnson, who also spoke with the media, echoing the same sentiment on this being an unbelievable organization. He said, "I can't say enough great things about the people in this building. Those relationships and the type of camaraderie that the players and staff have is something that's really, really special." Johnson went on to say that the transition from quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator has been a seamless transition, and he thinks the play calling will be similar to that of what Shane Steichen ran, with a little different nuances. He also reiterated that there's no ceiling for Jalen Hurts and this offense, alluding to some very special performances that I'm sure we all can't wait to see. Like I've said, I am so ready for the season to begin and should be buying a couple tickets soon. Speaking of which, if you missed it on Wednesday night's live show, we will be giving away game tickets to any regular game of your choice. All you have to do is join one of the Wednesday live shows, drop a super chat, and enter the drawing. And who knows, maybe we'll go to the game with you as well. This has been the Philly Special.